I feel like
What a weekend it was in professional wrestling and combat sports. We break down all of it, plus a little bit of extra sports talk in there. Gonna be a fun one today. Couch Potato Diary Live starts right now. Welcome everyone to Couch Potato Diary. Happy Tuesday. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for hanging out today. It is going to be a bit of a sprint through everything. We got a hard out because I'm on radio in Calgary in a few hours. So gonna get through everything with the detail that you would want, but maybe some stuff has to get pushed to tomorrow, like a lot of this was. But we got AEW. All In was a spectacular night. We got WWE. They had a weekend. We'll discuss that, plus some major events in boxing, both last weekend and this weekend upcoming, and hopefully we'll get to some UFC talk as the day rolls along. But as always, we're presented by Sea of Dead. Check out seaofdead403.ca. We got this great Calgary swag that is looking so good. So if you want to celebrate Calgary after the Stampede, we got some stuff for you there. Also, Swift Energy. Head over to swiftenergy.gg. Use that code PKPrimetime. Look, just because there's only all-star baseball stuff going on over the next couple of days doesn't mean we don't need the energy to get through a lot of wrestling and a lot of combat sports. They got some great flavors over there. So again, swiftenergy.gg and use the code PKPrimetime. We don't got time to waste today. So let's run right into it as AEW is back. All In was the exact show that this company needed, and now the momentum is through the roof. How did they get there? Let's break it down with AEW All In. So, AEW had just a spectacular weekend, and I was saying coming in, I didn't want to put too high of expectations on this or too much pressure on this, but I really thought this could be a complete game-changing weekend for this promotion. And I think it was. I think they hit every note that they needed to on this show. And honestly, a lot of it exceeded what my wildest expectations would have been for this company, for this show, for this night. I cannot overstate how big I think this show was. Let's run through it here. We begin with the Trios Tag Team titles. It was the Ops taking on the Death Riders. And I thought, like, as far as openers go, I think this was a pretty solid one. It is not the cruiserweight exchanges that you would see in old WCW. There's a couple guys pushing up on 3 bills in this fight, but still, I think a really, really entertaining match. And you see how they get going early on with the chopping exchanges to get it going. And it was a quick reminder that this is not a usual wrestling show. And because it is in the bigger arena, in the ballpark out there in Dallas, the acoustics are a little bit different. And so there were some times where you were expecting maybe a bigger reaction and it wasn't there because it is not built for that. Also, and this may be one of the only negatives, they certainly didn't sell the place out, right? They cornered it off and made it look really, really good, but you still had 30,000 people in a place that could hold 60 or 70 when you actually set it up for wrestling. And so I do think that hurt the atmosphere just a touch. I thought they, like, production-wise, it looked fantastic. And it looked like a big show. But I do think that because you had still a good crowd at 30,000 people, but because you had to cut it off and everything, it's the audio, the noise, I guess, audio works too, still only has so far that it can travel, right? And so it just didn't have the crowd reactions that you would want, but I still think that you had a good atmosphere and everything like that, but it took some big things to happen to get some big crowd reactions on this. And so it was just a reminder of stadium wrestling once again. But I thought the chop exchange got people into it early. Powerhouse Hobbs, that counter of the Doomsday Device was just fantastic, where he catches Yuta, spins him down into the power slam, like just brilliant, brilliant stuff. I thought everyone in this match came across really, really well. I do think this was a touch of a common theme on this show. The finish was just a touch out of nowhere for me. And I get it's a muscle buster and everything like that, but I thought it could have been built up to maybe a little bit more than they did. But I mean, who doesn't love the muscle buster, right? Or Samoa Joe. So I was a bit surprised that the Ops retain the titles here. I thought that they would give the Death Riders something with what we presumed would be happening later. So a little surprised that they went that route. I understand what they did post-match. I just didn't love it. I think the point of the opener, and I get they already had a couple of matches on the 0 hour, but the point of the opener is to get the crowd fired up and get the crowd into it. And so having a post-match attack where you get a hushed audience is not necessarily what you are looking for with that. So I do think that there was something a little bit lacking there. I understand why they did it, to take Samoa Joe out. And if you missed it, I can't imagine, but if you missed it, that they put the chair over Joe's upper body and they stomp on it, signifying that there is a neck injury that is going to take this fellow out for a little bit. And so I get why you do it, because the Ops have been there to help out Hangman and to try to take out the Death Riders. Fully understand, totally 100% get why you do it, so you're not asking why are they not coming down later on. But I just thought this was something they could have done in the back in a vignette at some point. And I know I'm saying, oh, hey, get an extra segment in there on a show that already went like 15 hours. But I think you could have taken the time here, like just take this exact amount of time that you had here and just put it later on in the show in a backstage whatever, and you leave these guys all in the back so that you establish that, instead of just, I thought, taking the crowd a little bit out of it. Now, they get back into it. It didn't affect, as the, whoops, hitting microphones now. As the show goes on, it didn't really hinder it all that much, but it was still something that I was like, I don't love the decision that they made here. We then go into the men's Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal, and you get a good story early on with MJF and Mark Briscoe. Mystico comes in later to add to it as well, but I thought a good build, having the first two guys in the match and building up the rivalry there, basically made this match feel more important because it gets the hype of a singles match instead of, oh my god, a wild brawl. You get the hype of a singles match with this. You get a pretty good story with a couple of guys who are good on the mic in their own unique way. And you get the crowd into it right away. So again, this unique concept that they've put together with the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal leads to a few more storytelling devices that you can use, and because of that, it builds up a story so that the match starts out very hot, instead of, well, these are the first two. Like, you're not going to have a qualifying match in the Royal Rumble for 1 and 2. I guess you could do a couple qualifying matches if you wanted to, where the winner gets 1, the loser gets 30. Or sorry, other way around. The winner gets 30, the loser gets 1, and then the loser gets 2, and the winner gets 29. Do something along those lines. It just made a story right away. I also love the crowd reaction to Konosuke Takeshita as and Bandito. People were raving about that match on Friday. And look, I haven't watched it yet. There was a lot of wrestling this weekend. And life. But a lot of buzz for that match coming out of Friday. And everyone in the crowd reacted accordingly. And so I think that this is overall, this was a big night for Ring of Honor, I think. When you saw the reactions to Takeshita, to Bandito, later on in the night, to Shiri coming out, to Athena. And now I don't think that one's from Ring of Honor, but this was obviously a crowd that was at least paying attention to ROH. And so I think this was, and we'll get to it kind of in the synopsis of this whole show, but this was, I think, a reminder for AEW of a few things that could be focused on a little bit more. And so I thought Ring of Honor was one of them. But I think this was a big boost to have so much buzz around that championship match and have it continue on to the main show for AEW on Saturday. I also like the story of Takeshita and Alexander kind of controlling things for a little bit. I do wish that the Callis guys would wear similar gear, like have it almost be like there's probably a better example than this, but have it be like a Game of Thrones thing where you now officially get the colors of the Callis family. And so now you can wear whatever you want it to be, a beige and maroon for all I care, but just have there be that symmetry. I wished we had that with teams, and especially one like the Callis family. And I understand, like, the Heenan family didn't do this back in the day. You would just have a bunch of guys popping up and, oh, hey, Bobby Heenan's there. There would be a little bit more than that, obviously. But I wish with them there was a little bit more symmetry in at least the color scheme of things. And that way you could tie it in a little bit more. But I do think, like, you establish these guys and kind of get them over as a team and make it a bit more impactful that way. When they have them kind of controlling things as the match is going on. I thought it got the Callis family over as a very strong entity in AEW and in this match, and kind of gets these guys over as a team. And it was a good spotlight for Josh Alexander as well. Brody King comes out and he feels like a big deal. They have had some big crowd reactions for Brody on different shows in California, and so you wondered if it was a bit of a hometown thing. This was not a hometown thing. My boy's not from Texas. Looks like he could be, but he's not from Texas. And so to get that crowd would be to get that crowd pop is a huge deal. And then you get the barking, you get the crowd reacting to the headlock spot. Like, Brody King feeling like a big deal in this was, it kind of gets forgotten about because so much happened on this show, but he needs to be a bigger project, I think, for this company going into 2025 and now going toward All In next year. Juice Robinson is back, and I thought he looked in great shape. The wardrobe a little bit more toned down than we're used to from Juice, but still, I think that this was a very, very interesting return. You get the Guns coming back as well, but Juice, like, he came in, you got a very good reaction for him, and it felt like a pretty big deal. Gates of Agony helping out Ricochet. Nice job getting them over as kind of this dominant tag team. I think they are interesting in AEW's tag team mix, I guess we could say. The Guns come running down with chairs to help out. They get a good pop as well for their return, so a nice addition now to the AEW roster. Kota Ibushi getting the reset spot comes in and just kicks the hell out of everyone, and then Brody eating those kicks and no selling was a nice touch. But again, it was just, you got good reactions. You had a lot of guys get some pretty good spotlights on this show. And one thing that I think you really like about it all from AEW, it was all your guys, right? Like, it wasn't Glacier coming down and having a big thing. It wasn't a name from the past coming down as a nostalgia, like, oh my God, type of a pop. You got that in the 0 hour with the Von Erichs and the Claw and everything like that. This was all about their guys. And it wasn't even this guy from CMLL and this guy from New Japan and this guy from Rev Pro or whoever they're going to be teaming up with when they go over to England. But I thought it was a really nice thing to just get all of their guys onto the show and get those reactions for them. Really fun spot. They've done this before, but Takeshita, countering the 21-plex by Bandito with a 42-plex and suplexing them. That was really cool. A fantastic combination at one point. Beast Mortos against Ibushi. I didn't know I needed that, but I now want that as a rivalry for a year. This needs to be a blood feud, and they culminated at All In next year. I'm being facetious a little bit, but it was kind of cool to see them doing that. It was kind of funny. Like, Mortos walks through a kick and then eats an elbow to what is the skull of a bull that he has on his head. And it doesn't, there's no real reaction to any of it. Or he starts to sell that part. It's like, well, you had no reaction to the kick, but you get hit in the tusk and now you're hurt. Just took you out of it. I'm kidding, obviously. The one thing I didn't like is that this match basically broke down into a bunch of singles matches. And it did give a good, again, spotlight. That's going to be a key word here, and one that I'm going to have to, on the fly, think of a different one because I'm going to overuse it. But it did give a nice spotlight to a number of different rivalries, a number of different guys or whatever. But it did kind of feel like your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn, when you had all these dudes bouncing in and, okay, well, now this guy is out and now you have a singles match here. Well, now this one, like, it was a series of singles matches, and so you didn't get like a full battle royal sense necessarily. It's still a new match concept and there's still whatever, but I thought that there could have been at least a little bit more integration of more than 2 or 3 people at a time. Max Caster comes out, he does the chant, let's go Max, you're the best wrestler alive. It's so bad it's good. I am stunned that he is getting more reactions than Anthony Bowens is. It was probably time to break up the Acclaimed, as much as I am frustrated that I did spend real money on a Scissor Me Daddy Ass shirt, and now the team is no more. But the follow-up to this has not been very good. And at this point, I almost wish they would just get back together, you know, and try to figure something out there. If you want to, like, change the style of the gimmick or something like that, then fine. But these guys are not, it is not working as singles performers. You do get the MJF classic heel steal of the win. The J Driller throws Mark out and he gets the W. I thought there would be a little bit more with him and Mystico, so that's why I was thinking that he would not get the victory here, but spoiler alert, there's a big babyface win coming at the end of this show, and one that we already know that MJF has a ready-made story with, and a very good chemistry with as well, with Hangman. So getting him back into that picture, getting him into the main event picture where he always should be, I think is a very, very good thing. So overall, it is tough to really have too much of an issue with MJF getting the victory in this. It is just, I am a little bit surprised that they went that way. TNT Championship was now a fatal 4-way as Adam Cole comes out to vacate it. Didn't want to say retirement, but wanted to talk to the crowd anyway. Obviously incredibly emotional, and he is either a substantially better actor than I would give him credit for, or this was a very real moment for him. And considering all the injury issues he has had and how dark things got with concussion issues for him before, that is apparently what he is dealing with again. That is a terrifying, terrifying thing. Certainly not to the level that he has, but it is something that I have dealt with, and it's kind of something that never really goes away. It just, you either learn to live with it more, or some symptoms get a little bit better, but it is always something that's just there, right? And so for him to have to go through this again, and the other part of it is that there's no exact timeline. He could be better tomorrow and then not better in a week. So you hope the best for a guy who we have criticized here as it has not been a great last couple of years with him trying to get back into AEW and then some of the creative around him. But this is still one of the better performers of this generation. And so to see it all kind of go down this way is really, really unfortunate. I do like that when we get into this match, it's Sammy Guevara, Daniel Garcia, you have Dustin Rhodes, and Kyle Fletcher. I thought that they did a good job early on, because this is just kind of a thrown together match. It's not for the live audience, but for people at home, getting over the background of Guevara and Garcia, how, yeah, there's actually a bit of a history between these two, is really good. The crowd was not into it, but obviously, you just had a pretty emotional, basically retirement happen for a beloved figure in professional wrestling. It's going to take them a minute. And these guys worked their ass off to try to get him back into it. The Spanish fly to the floor hit hard. And then you get Guevara, Garcia, and Dustin all hitting the... I forget what it's called in AEW now, but the Shattered Dreams on Kyle Fletcher. It was a good spot. It got the crowd into it. Fletcher as a heel is so effective. He came out looking like just the biggest douchebag and continues that in the match as he eats all of these spots. Then you get a bit of dissension from the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions with Guevara and Dustin, where... there's a bit of a back and forth. There's a potential, at some point, you get a pinfall that is broken up, and Guevara's like, what the hell, man? And Dustin's like, look, this could be my only shot. And they did a good job on commentary kind of getting some of that over, where Dustin has never won a singles championship. He's come so close, but he's never really won. And I was like, okay, I didn't think it was telegraphing it too much because I didn't think there was a way they were going to do that with him. I thought this was about coronating Kyle Fletcher here. So... I thought, okay, at least you're giving them something with the tag team, potentially a breakup here. At one point, there's an accidental super kick that happens on from Guevara to Dustin, but then they keep going, and then Dustin gets locked into the Dragon Tamer, which is sharpshooter, and reverses out of it, gets the roll up and the win. I thought this was a really, really, really nice moment for Dustin. It was one I wasn't expecting, and I think sometimes they can do, especially AEW, they can kind of overthink moments a little bit, like, oh, this is going to be a big moment, let's do this. I thought the obvious thing coming into this is Kyle Fletcher. He is a future star, I think. And so get him this big win on a big stage and give him the TNT championship and start to really build this guy up. But I had no problem with this, and I was expecting to have a problem with it, for the record. I was not able to watch any of this live, and so this was one of the things I got a spoiler on. I was like, oh, really? Like, we're doing Dustin? Like, what are we doing here? Like, Kyle Fletcher, you have a chance to build a guy. What is it? But to see how the crowd reacted to Adam Cole, and to see how everyone was reacting to Dustin, sometimes it's nice to just give your respected veterans a moment. Like, show your respect to someone who has been so important in front of and behind the camera for this company, to allow them to have this moment and get this spotlight and get this appreciation that they deserve. And that was this here. It was also a great moment for the crowd because they were bummed by the Adam Cole thing. And so to give them a nice little pickup after this is, I think, a very nice moment for that. So it wasn't the booking decision I would have made, but when you see it all together and you factor in the human element of all of it, I think it was a very, very smart one. I just saw the thing pop up there for a new follow on Twitch. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. So overall, I think this was the smart move. You get the crowd into it. Dustin has been so important. He gets his big moment. I think the emotions were pretty legitimate, given everything that he has gone through in his life and been through with this company, and also with the obvious attack that is coming from the other side in this. I thought very, very well done for AEW. And again, it's a bit more of a spotlight on Ring of Honor there. So you have this guy who is now trios champion with Ring of Honor, the World Tag Team Champions with Sammy Guevara, and now he is getting the TNT title. So it's a little more focus on Ring of Honor as well. But a really cool moment, I thought, for AEW, and I thought they did a pretty good job with that. As always, if you're watching or listening to this after the fact, we stream these live on youtube.com/@CouchPotatoDiary, twitch.tv/PrimetimePK, and kick.com/PrimetimePK. Now we get into some of the wild stuff, as Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland take on the Young Bucks. I thought it was really cool. You have JoJo come out and sing the Shaka Khan song. I didn't exactly know how it all tied in. They said after that was the music that Swerve used early in his career. So a nice touch. You get JoJo, a big moment on television after what has had to have been a very difficult time in her life following the passing of Bray Wyatt. And so to give her that moment, I thought was really awesome. And she crushed it. And it's a big entrance on a big night. The Founding Father entrance for the Young Bucks, with a few shots at WWE veiled in there, that's where they're at their best. It's not Look, sometimes, again, they miss on a few, the sledgehammer to the throne and everything like that. But when they are just taking their shots that if you don't know, you don't know, and it's not affecting anything, that they are so good at that. It was so over the top, but it was really funny. Telling a very good story at the start of this match, where you have the Young Bucks as the best tag team in the world, and Ospreay and Swerve, it's not that they weren't on the same page, it's just that the Bucks were a step ahead the whole time as the tag team experts. So fantastic storytelling to get into this match. You have Ospreay really getting beaten down, and then Swerve coming in for the hot tag, and he just felt like he was it. You know, like he felt like he was like that guy coming in. Look, recapping this whole thing is going to be insane. But you have like a stereo sky twisters was just fantastic. It gets a great near fall where one is going into the ring, Ospreay is going out, and they get a near fall out of that. Nick goes for a buckshot, and that leads to a beautiful series of counters and moves that leads to all four getting put down. And it was at this point that this reached epic standards. You know, like on WWE 2K, this was the part where you get the bling 5 stars up at the top of the corner. This was fantastic. It was super kicks and counters, and then they both roll out of Canadian destroyers, go, and hit one hit. Swerve hit the house call. Ospreay hit the hidden blade. That wasn't so hidden because it was to the front of the guy's head, and down they go there. But I thought, like, at that point, the crowd is going crazy. And I know you knew what was coming online, right? Where you have a lot of guys, oh, it's just the flippy dippy stuff and not telling a story. It's like, I don't know, man. It was cool as shit. And it was a bit of a reset in the match. And like, is it the most believable? I guess not, but it is the biggest stage. And when you understand what they're wrestling for, with not being able to have a title shot for a year, or your job as EVPs in controlling this company, you can understand where adrenaline would be going. So to be able to fight out of that and then immediately just like, okay, that's all I had. I thought it was fine. And I thought it was good storytelling to kind of reset it a little bit. And as some people pointed out, while I have a ton of respect for his in-ring career, maybe the guy who was a undead zombie wizard isn't the one to be talking to us about realism in professional wrestling. Thought there. But still, this was so great, and it really gets the crowd into it. Swerve and Ospreay hitting stereo styles clashes, that gets an ear fall. The crowd was really into it. I thought some great tag team moves from Swerve and Ospreay, where you get the Swerve Stomp and the Stormbreaker into a near fall. I loved how that looks. On the outside, the Bucks super kick Nana. There's a Meltzer driver to, or a TK driver. I forget which ones they're named after. But the driver, credit to someone on the floor, and then Matt comes in, hits a hidden blade, it's more bang for your buck, and it's a 2 count. And then that, I mean, again, it just, when you think they haven't hit one gear, it gets to another one. And I will say, I was watching this match through a bit of a different prism, because again, I wasn't watching it live, and I would, you kind of blindly just go on your phone like, okay, let's scroll. I thought I got a spoiler that said the Bucks won this match. And I quickly scrolled away from it, but I had it in the back of my mind. I'm pretty good at convincing myself, like, okay, well, maybe it was da-da-da-da-da. But I had in the back of my mind, like, man, I think the Bucks win this thing. So while I'm watching this, I see the Swerve Stomp Stormbreaker thing. I was like, you know what it would be kind of a fun out to have, okay, we can't challenge for the titles, or for the world title, but we can go for the tag titles, and we can hold it over your division now for a year. This is your fault. We can hold it there. So I had this whole story crafted where these guys go for the tag team titles and kind of counterpunch it that way, and you can keep them in around the main event picture and do that. So I had all of this in my mind while all these are going on, and I thought that more bang for your buck, like, yeah, okay, that's it. And then it's kick out. It's okay. We're going here. Ospreay has a great counter into the EVP trigger, then the Bucks counter the counter, and Swerve comes in with an excellent save. I bid on that one hard as well. Ospreay, then you get the dissension. He hits Swerve with the hidden blade. Bucks counter with the EVP. And this was a part where I think the Bucks as expert tag team wrestlers really shined here, because you have this moment where Ospreay has hit his partner with his like deadly finishing move. Swerve goes down, and the Bucks immediately, they rush to him, they grab him, EVP trigger, boom, quick cover 1-2, and a kick out. But the urgency that they showed, recognizing that there was a swift change in momentum, and this was their opportunity. Ospreay had no one to save him, and he is a little bit like, oh my god, what just happened? You can pounce and take advantage of this opportunity. Instead, like, I just feel like the urgency that they showed in that, again, It is not the traditional storytelling of, oh, well, they worked the arm for 25 minutes. But I thought it was a really nice touch to show their expertise in tag team wrestling, their understanding of the situation, and the understanding of the gigantic stakes that are attached to this match, jumping in, pouncing on this guy, hitting him with the EVP trigger, and still only getting a 2. I thought it showed the urgency of the situation, and it showed their expertise as a tag team in a very, very effective way. Then they get the TK driver for the near fall. Ospreay is hung up on the ropes, and they're just hitting him with a series of super kicks, and then Swerve crawls in front of him, taking some of the bullets for Ospreay. He screams in their face, eats another couple, and I thought, again, in the back of my mind, thinking I got the spoiler that they lost, I thought this was going to be the moment. You have the, okay, maybe they are that cost the tag team titles, but at least they're going down together. It's both super kicks and then blah, 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 blah. But then counters the EVP trigger. Ospreay hits the hidden blade, Swerve stomp into a tombstone, and it's still just a 2. And it was just like, oh my God, this is insane. Then a hidden blade puts, but Nick pushes Swerve into the cover. So another 2 count. Then you get a house blade, house call, hidden blade. Seals it. A fantastic match, a match of the year candidate. Just from an in-ring perspective, this was brilliance. It was art. It was everything that you wanted it to be from a match featuring these guys on the biggest stage that this company has to offer. It was a fantastic performance. And again, I know some people are going to see flippy dippy shit and a lot of kickouts and say, oh, well, no storytelling. I thought the storytelling in this match was excellent. And I think having the stakes that they did really did amplify it. We talked about it in the pre-show. If they would have said Ospreay and Swerve can never challenge for the titles again, no one would believe it. And it would take you out of the match. But to have that year put on it where it's like, okay, that is something they could do and build up a whole year. And like I said, I had stories crafted of them going for tag team titles and everything like that. Like you could very well believe that they were going to do that. I thought it really added an extra layer to this match. So storytelling, I thought they checked every box that you needed to in this match very effectively. So well done with this. And now you get rid of the EVP titles. It was very well needed. It is, we talked about it before, it is a reset creatively for this company, getting away from something that felt like a bit of a hindrance. It is too bad. And this is one of the bittersweet things about this, is that this did feel like a reset and a new era for AEW. But I do still think, if we want to be a touch negative, I do still think you have to look at why a reset was needed and why we needed to go into a new era for this company. Thinking back to when they have the attack on Tony Khan and have him showing up at the NFL draft with the neck brace on and everything, it had, I thought, a lot of potential. It was not executed very well at all, and then it hung around way too long. But it does lead to a brilliant match between all of these. I'm not going to say net positive. I'm not going to go there with all of it, but at least we got a fantastic conclusion to everything. Tough spot to follow that. But they did very well with the Women's Casino Battle Royal. Statlander and Megan Bayne started out. Again, I like there was urgency in this. They start out hitting a few big moves, trying to get the pinfall early. They aren't able to do it, so Willow comes out next. Her and Statlander just have such good chemistry. And I've said it before, Willow has that it factor as well. She should be a champion very soon. She is one I would have put as a winner in this. I don't think they made the wrong call with the winner of it, but Willow I think is deserving of an opportunity here very, very soon. Ty Mello, bit of a tough counter on Bane. Looked a little rough driving that one. It looked like it hurt. Then you get Penelope involved looking for a doomsday device. Harley Cameron returns for the first time since breaking her nose. A huge crowd reaction out of that, and you get a couple good stories with that, with Penelope and Megan Bayne, Harley Cameron, JC Jane, and Ty Mello. A lot you can do there, and obviously there is a build-up to tag team titles, apparently, that are coming in the women's division, so I thought they did that well. An awesome reaction for Tekla. She has such an amazing presence. They were talking about her on Post Wrestling. She's a babyface, right? Like, she has this offensive style, this character, everything down. This is what happens when you have a very good performer who has a great sense of what the character is, and just has a full understanding of what it means to be that character. She has this down to a T and is just brilliant with it. So full marks to Tekla on this one. You get Julia Hart running in with her Sin sister Sky Blue, again setting up a potential women's tag team. Sky Blue was essentially a member of this match. I thought, again, a really good pop for Mina Shirakawa is another one who is just oozing star potential. She goes at Blue, hits this really interesting, like it's not an electric chair drop, but she has her up. It's a spin and it goes into like almost finishing like an F5 kind of. Really cool match and a kind of really cool move. Sorry. And then she goes into a figure four and it gets Sky Blue tapping out. And so Mina thinks she's won. So there's a bit of a celebration thing there going. I thought it was a really creative idea, but also knowing what the finish of the match was, I thought it was a good job to get over that this is a big move for her, and it makes sense why she is going for it. So it just kind of gets it in your mind that this is a thing that she does as a finisher if you haven't watched a lot of the stuff that she has been doing in AEW so far. Then you get a massive pop for Athena, and she comes out looking awesome. It's a double clothesline in the ring. Power bomb to Mina. Really cool kind of double move where she hit like it looked like it was going to be a fall away slam and a DVD, but it turns into like basically like a black hole slam kind of a thing and a Samoan drop. Really cool move from her there. And so again, you get Shiri coming in, debuting in AEW after coming in or having vignettes, for Ring of Honor, and there's a very good reaction again with her and Athena locking up. So this was another one where you can see this was at least an audience that knows what is happening with Ring of Honor. And so there is a moment here for AEW to try to capitalize on what is happening with the crowd reactions to ROH stuff and try to build it up that way. So a lot of interesting things coming out of this one, and I think Ring of Honor could be something to do. You get a real good kind of battle royal spot with Statlander powerbombing Bane into a pile of the participants, and then the finish where Mina's going for her figure four and Athena hits that fantastic move to get the win. I think it makes a ton of sense. She feels like a star. She has always had this presence about her, and this is now, again, I feel like she has rounded out the character. Her in-ring is very, very good. It looks great. I think this also kind of set up a lot of people to believe that Mercedes was going to win in the main event because there's an obvious story there between the two of them, but it's a big spotlight moment for her and a big moment coming up for her and another spotlight for Ring of Honor. So I thought this checked a lot of boxes, and this was one, again, you weren't relying on names of the past or just one-offs or anything like that. This was just a showcase for how damn good this women's division is and a reminder that they need to be focused on more. Like, there's a lot of talent here that I think they need to be giving a lot more of a look to. And I think that this was a nice kind of showcase for a lot of that. Tag team titles on the line. Hurt Business, Jet Speed against the Patriarchy. FTR on commentary. They get involved a little bit late, but Lashley gets the spear for the win. There was a lot more to this match than I thought there was going to be. The Patriarchy were obviously kind of a late throw-in, and mainly here more for the post-match than they were for the actual match. Like, this felt like a lot of Hurt Business against Jet Speed. You got a couple of near falls that the crowd bid on, which is kind of all you could hope for from this match. Hurt Business get the win. They still look dominant. I do think this ends with Jet Speed being a bit of a net negative for this entire feud. They get on the card, they do some fantastic looking stuff, but they looked kind of like geeks the whole time getting beat up, and then to not get their comeuppance at the end, this sets them back a little bit, I think, both characters, and really does kind of place them in a spot. And it's not a complimentary one to them. But the big moment comes after the match. Nick Wayne turns on Christian, hitting the kill switch. Mama Wayne is laughing as they go to set up the concerto. So it looks like it was this was the plan all along. And then Cope comes out for the save with Spike. Takes his sweet time getting there. Like, look, I'm coming down to save you from a traumatic brain injury. But I got Pyro to get in too. So, we got to hit all of those things. But still. Cool reaction, getting Cope back. That was fun. Hits a double spear on FTR. Then Kip Sabian takes a wild spear. And then you get the go find yourself with Christian with that whole thing. So I thought really good. I'm happy it wasn't just immediately like, okay, we embrace now. Like, honestly, given how everything was treated and everything, Nick Wayne doing that to Christian is kind of a babyface turn when you look at it. So to have Christian just immediately turn babyface off of this would not be the way to go about it. It is going to have to take a lot to have Christian be babyfaced off of this, but I mean, You had Hangman be the babyface who ends up being the face of the company after he lit a guy's house on fire and stabbed him with a needle. So we overlook a lot as wrestling fans, but I look forward to the day where Christian talking about someone's passed away father is now getting a babyface reaction instead of the heel one that they were going for. Women's title on the line. Mercedes Moné taking on Toni Storm. A lot of fun stuff early with Toni being timeless, doing the money dance and twerking and everything like that. Mercedes gets the advantage while taking out Luther, and then kind of picking it up, but this match built in intensity as it went on in a very effective way. Moné with the moneymaker, Toni Storm kicks out. Moné kicks out of 3 Storm zeros. They got the fun stuff out of the way, and then we got into a real serious wrestling match, and it got to a very fun third act of this match. In the end, it is Toni Storm hitting an avalanche Storm Zero for the win. It was a fantastic match for both of them. The crowd was ready for it, and they stepped up in a big time way. I am a little surprised at the result of this match. I did think that Mercedes was going to win this and keep building up that star, but Toni is such an amazing performer and is so over. I do think the Mercedes character can afford to have a loss like this and continue to build up and continue to run things in the TBS division side. And we saw tonight the women's division is pretty stacked. So some good challengers for her. And now Athena against Toni Storm, I presume, is going to be kind of the next direction. Maybe not immediately, because I don't think it's just, and this is number one contender for the next pay-per-view. Athena has some time to build into it, but there's always going to be a bit of an overhang there, and I think that could be a lot of fun. Then we get to the Unified Championship, as Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada unify the International and the Continental Championship, the Intercontinental title, if you will, but it is now the Unified Championship, a name that I hate. But this match was really strong. It was a different dynamic having Okada as the heel for the other ones that they had. You have some of the interference from the Callis family and Don Callis and everything like that. In terms of in-ring action and everything, this is not 60 minutes that they had before. And it is not any of their New Japan matches. They obviously have lost at least half a step, but they both are so smart as professional wrestlers and as performers. They utilized what they had very effectively. So this is not going to go down as the best match of this. It's not supposed to be 7 years after two guys in their prime put on fantastic matches that really rocketed New Japan into another stratosphere, and both of these guys into it. But the match built up very well in the first 2 acts, and once it picked up, they both just crushed it. I loved this match. I don't think it's the match of the show, but I really loved this match. I thought, again, this was art. It was storytelling with great moves, with callbacks that weren't just there to be callbacks, but actually big moments in matches and everything. I just thought they really built up to the crescendo of this match so effectively. And then I like the finish too. It wasn't this long drawn out whatever. It was just he caught him, he hit the Rainmaker, and it was over. I thought, again, it kind of felt like the first match where it's the finisher, so it's not out of nowhere, but it was still just oh, that was it. Okay, that's the finish. And I think having that with the Rainmaker is good because that is supposed to be this one-hitter quitter thing that you do. To have Okada kick out of the One-Winged Angel and everything there, was impactful as well. And then again, the just bang and it's over. It gets the Rainmaker over in a big time way. This was the result that needed to happen. Okada has not felt like the same star he was in Japan. And I don't know if he will get to that level again, but performances like this help remind everyone that when this guy came in, genuinely one of the best wrestlers in the world. So excellent stuff there. And then we get to the Texas Death Match for the AEW Championship. It was everything you would expect it to be, with Hangman Adam Page taking on Jon Moxley. It was bloody, it was wild, it was violent right from the word go, some absolute brutality. The Death Riders' involvement was obvious, but not too bad. It did not get into House of Torture elements of it. They still let Hangman get some offense in, but they were just there once it felt like the tide was really going to start to turn. It was in the ways you would expect, and it kind of built the desperation of the match well. They take out Ospreay very quickly into it, so you're not wondering about him. It does set up a couple of very effective run-ins with Bryan Danielson and Darby Allin that got the massive pops there, so they were there just enough that it helped the desperation of the situation and it helped the storyline out without getting too much into the, oh my god, we get it, that House of Torture things seem to get into. I also like that the Hangman aspect of this wasn't overdone. Where, like, all the talk coming in is, can this guy win the big one? Will he do what it takes to finally become the true face of AEW and finally reach that potential? Even though he's been the champion before, we still haven't fully felt the potential that we had for Hangman Adam Page. And so there wasn't the moment where he's looking at his hands like, oh, should I, shouldn't I don't, oh, where am I, what am I doing? It is, no, I'm gonna go for it. Like, yeah, this guy dragged me across broken bottles like 3 minutes ago. I'm not gonna hesitate with any of these things. There wasn't the storytelling wasn't overdone like it can sometimes in both AEW and WWE. They did this perfectly. And then to have Swerve be the final one to come out and help, I still wish these two never got along and they're just forever rivals. But I do think you can kind of tell the story that this was bigger than them. Those are the bad guys. We can still hate each other, but we have to get rid of them. And to have Swerve just kind of do the, yeah, I know, that little smirk, perfect. Just subtle, perfect stuff. AEW, I thought, hit all of these things so very well. And then you get the finish where Hangman is choking Moxley with the chain, hanging him over the ropes, Hangman, and ends up getting the win that way. Just a fantastic moment. It is kind of funny that the starting of this new era, it is not Hogan pinning the Iron Sheik, or the Austin era has begun, or Goldberg with the spear in the thing. It is a bloody death match where attempted murder is happening, and he's hanging him over the thing, and oh my god, a new era. Oh, happy days. Little strange that it went that way, but still, it is a new era. I thought this was great. The run-in from Bryan Danielson, again, not overdone, just a cool moment. He is back. Darby Allin with a video from Everest and then coming down. I genuinely thought, when he is at the top of this thing and coming down, and you see that he is repelled, there was 5% of me that was wondering, is that attached to his skin? Dave Navarro did this at the end, the finale of one of the Ink Master shows, where he just had clips in his skin and he was hanging there. And I was like, there was part of me that's is Darby being repelled and this thing is hooked into his actual body? It was onto his pants, so that helped, but just, a quick note on that. But I thought all those things were done really, really well. And Hangman, he was the perfect one for this. I was wondering if it should have been Ospreay. It shouldn't have been. The story they told leading up to it was beautiful and brilliant. It was the finish that needed to happen with the guy it needed to happen with. And then, look, I thought it was really, really stupid to hide the AEW championship for as long as they did with the briefcase thing. And I can kind of understand what they were going for with it. I don't know if it was ever perfectly explained the way that I would want it to be, but I could kind of understand what they were at least doing with it. But the moment you get it, the crowd went nuts. Because Hangman opens it, and it's not just sitting there. He opens it, and he just, one move. It's open, and the belt is up, and he's holding it there. And the crowd goes nuts. It got me entirely. It was just... I have chills now talking about it. It was so perfectly done that it just... Again... We will have weeks and months to discuss about whether all of this stuff was worth it for AEW to get to this point. But what they were able to do and how they were able to pivot and how they were able to save a lot of it really, really made for an amazing show. And that moment where it is you could almost feel the Tony Schiavone yelling, "This is our night," when the NWO has finally been vanquished for the first time. It is this moment where the fans and the company, it goes from black and white to color in a matter of an instant. It was so well done with everything here. I still think, overall, the Death Rider story, the EVP story, all of that is a net negative. And you can see in the numbers of where they started, where they're at now, things have fallen a little bit, but it created some fantastic moments and a star-making night for Hangman Adam Page, declaring him as the guy in AEW. You could have gotten here in a much more effective way, for sure, a much more efficient way, but I do think even me, calling for, saying okay, this has fully gone off the rails now with Swerve, losing at Dynasty and everything there, it justified at least a lot of those decisions to now lock in Hangman as the guy of this company. So I don't think it was a net positive, but it is something that has created a lot of momentum for them now. Overall, this show was awesome. It was the exact night I was hoping for when talking about the launch of a new era. The wrestling top to bottom was just fantastic. It clears out a lot of storylines we were sick of. Honestly, it was the type of night that makes you fall in love with wrestling all over again. The storytelling, the performances, the spectacle, all of it. It was 10s across the board. Nothing felt like it was overdone. Oh, it was a long show that didn't feel like it overstayed its welcome. You had a lot of amazing performances coming off of it. Just so much brilliance on this show. I thought every note that they needed to hit, they hit it, and they hit it perfectly. Like this, I cannot stress enough how perfectly it seemed like everything worked for this company on this night. It really does feel like the beginning of a new era for AEW, and it feels like a major moment for this company. So we will see how AEW can build from the momentum on this one. If you missed any of this breakdown or any of the live streams that we do for Couch Potato Diary, you can find it wherever you get your podcast. Just search Couch Potato Diary. It is available on Spotify or on Apple. I know the descriptions and my leadoff had a whole lot of other things mentioned. I wanted to give this show the respect it was due, and that meant going basically 50 minutes just talking about this thing. So, we're going to have to pause here because I have to go and talk on the radio for a while. But there's still going to be more. Saturday night's main event, Evolution, all this stuff. We're going to get to all of it throughout the week here on Couch Potato Diary. Maybe not all live, but we're going to get to all of it at different points. So we're going to call it here. Thank you so much for hanging out today. Again, check out Sea of Dead, seaofdead403.ca for the great Calgary swag. Follow me on social media. I am at Primetime Klein on X, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads. Next live stream will probably be Thursday. Going to aim for 9 a.m., but follow me on social media for updates on that. Thank you guys so much for hanging out today, and talk to you all later. Bye-bye.